Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever needed emotional healing and clearing, then do we have the Emotional Detox Show for you. Today I'll be talking with Sherianna Boyle, adjunct psych professor, yoga instructor, and the author of 7 books, including her brilliant latest, Emotional Detox. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about 7 steps to release toxicity and energize joy. That, plus we'll talk about booby traps and Epsom salt baths, cats and cows, crystal elixirs, blessing water, never making decisions when low energy, the power of a new pillow, yoga girls and holy rollers, and what in the world inhaling cheese has to do with anything. Gotcha. So welcome back to the show, Sherry. Are you ready to shine?
Yes. I'm excited to be here. Woohoo!
Well, so happy to have you here. And I know we had some interesting, I don't even know if we call them tech challenges, visits with creatures, specifically spider on the mic.
Wild.
Before the show. So with that said, I want to go back in time. Maybe you can give us Sherianna Boyle 101 since I've had you on before. And starting with your house. What was it like growing up?
Oh, wow, we're going way back.
We are.
Oh, we are. My house?
Yes.
Well, after writing Emotional Detox, there was a lot of reactivity in the house. There's a lot of, it came from a very loving home and hardworking home, very hardworking. But there was a lot of chaos and there was a lot of suppressed emotional energy in the house. Not because people weren't acknowledging that there was some hurt and pain going on, but simply because they didn't know how to handle it.
And is that what led you down your path to where you are today?
Well, of course, it influenced, and I reflect on it now and then, and it's all really making sense now. Sometimes I tell a story about when I was 18, I left home, and the reason I left home was because my parents were going through a very bitter divorce. My mother had started dating a new man, and he was very abusive. And so I got to the point where I said to my mom, look, I can't live with him anymore. I can't be around this. And in my adolescent mind, it was my way of sort of manipulating her to say, well, maybe she'll leave him if I tell her I'm going to leave, right? So she kind of froze, didn't say a word. I leave, I go off to college, and I'm a mess. I'm not making great choices. Like a lot of kids in college, you gain a ton of weight, you eat the wrong foods, like you kind of become a mess. Fast forward, I'm driving home now from college. It's like Thanksgiving. And as I'm driving home, all the triggers are coming in, because when you see all the reminders of where you lived and the things you did, and when things are not resolved in the body, when you have undigested emotions and trauma as well, you get triggered. And so I'm driving and I'm feeling my heart rate go up, and I'm feeling a little nervous and excited. And then I get there and my mom's there, and I lived in this big old house, big Victorian old house, always needed work kind of house, pink. And so I got there and my mom gives me a big hug, and this is before phones, so she doesn't realize how much weight I've gained,
Yep.
Right? So she opens the door and gives me a hug, and the next thing out of her mouth is, do you want a cookie? And I'm thinking, do I want a cookie? Really? A freaking cookie? Do you see me? Right? I'm a mess. That's like the last thing I need right now. And we went on and we spent the weekend together. We never talked about, Michael, what happened. We never talked about the fact that I left. We never talked about the way I left. We never talked about anything. And really, in reflecting back on that as an adult, what I've learned in writing this book is these situations, they don't just disappear. You know, these emotions that you choose to bury because it's uncomfortable, it's painful. And we'd like to believe we move on, we learn, we grow up, we do better. And in many cases we do. However, if we're still being triggered and we're still having the same kinds of responses, but now we've got new dance partners, these are signs that they're still in the body. And that's really what emotional detox is about. And I learned a lot about my mom. I see her in a new light now. I realized that my mother was in a state of reactivity. I don't see it as, oh, she picked him and da 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 da. I have a whole nother viewpoint on my childhood.
And it sounds like, if I understand correctly, she repeats patterns from her childhood that are still playing because she hasn't gotten those emotions out.
That's correct. And it's about what I want to be clear about what an emotional detox is. We are not getting rid of your emotions because the emotions are very valuable. They have a lot of energy in them. What it is we're detoxing the reactivity that's layered on top of them. And so I think of it like food, right? If you eat a piece of food and it's loaded with chemicals and it's been grown in pesticides and it's processed and it's packaged and all that, it's not going to have nearly as many nutrients as an apple you pick off the tree. And it's the same thing with your emotions. Your emotions are so valuable and so nutritious, but when we layer them with reactivity, and some of that reactivity is to not say anything, to pretend like everything is fine, or to conflict in families, or to run stories in your head. So I imagine when I was 18, when I was going down that road, I imagine I was running stories in my head. That's a reaction. Right? I'm imagining my childhood. I'm remembering things, and that's brain. Brain holds on to trauma. And the body, the heart, is what heals everything. The heart is where you grow. So that's what an emotional detox is about. It's about cleansing the reactivity so you can experience your raw emotions.
Woohoo! Let's talk about how you ended up going down this road, if it's okay to share, because fast forward 18 years into a marriage and you have to learn about all this stuff and learn about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, almost every book I've written, I've come to realize I've had a premonition. So it's almost like I think of an idea, gee, that would be really interesting to write about. I'm really drawn to that topic.
Uh-oh.
And then all of a sudden I'm in the topic, right? And I realize,
I hope you're thinking pink bunnies and, I don't know, Easter eggs now.
Well, actually, what I was thinking a lot about before I started venturing into wanting to write about emotional detox, I was really interested in learning about forgiveness. I'm going to be honest with you. It was just a topic that I wanted to explore. I was sort of reflecting and asking questions. And I always just, I just say, teach me, universe, about this. I'm interested. So show me how I can.
Sherry, let me pause you. I have an expression which may help you for the rest of your life. When you ask for these questions, as somebody who's experienced the 2x4 of the universe more than a couple times, add the fine print at the end: kind, gentle, easy, good. I would like to learn about forgiveness. Kind, gentle, easy, good. As kind, gentle, easy, good, and universe as you can do.
Thank you. That's a good tip. Thank you for that. So anyway, fast forward, I'm interested. I pitch it to my publisher, and they said, great, why don't you go research that and show us if you have something to offer here. And so I did. I started researching, and I came up with some things, and I showed it to them, and they really made me work hard for this. They wanted the science. They wanted the proof that this was a legit concept. So I got all the research done in about 5 weeks later, I found out that my husband was having an affair. And so then it was, it was a doozy. So I put the book away. I said to my publisher, I'm in an emotional crisis. My family's in an emotional crisis. I cannot write this right now, which was unbelievably challenged. I couldn't believe that was happening because I had written for so long and waited for this opportunity and to be picked, to be even considered by a company like Simon and Schuster. I was over the top that I was even having a conversation with Simon and Schuster. And now I have to tell them, I can't do it right now. And they understood. And so I took some time to heal, and I took quite a bit of time to heal. And meanwhile, though, I'm very aware that I have this research. So I know how I would like my healing to be, and I make a conscious choice. And so I'm starting to choose different therapists to work with, and I'm realizing, a couple of them weren't in line with what I had researched, right? So it took a while to find sort of the right match. Here's the thing, though, when you find a therapist, it's once a week for 50 minutes. And when you are in that place, that's a fraction of what you need when you're in that painful state. And so I knew that I needed something every day. And I remember Michael going to yoga, because I've been teaching yoga for it'll be almost 16 years now. Yep. And I thought, well, I go to yoga, right? I've been teaching this for 16 years. You go to yoga, right? You got to get in the body. And that, I couldn't do it. It was hard for me to even to see people. And so I understand trauma. I've learned a lot about what people go through when they're in a crisis, an emotional crisis like that. And that's how the cleanse came to be. I was like, what can I do for myself every single day? And so once I went through this healing time, it was January, and I decided to pop the computer open, and I started to write the cleanse and try the cleanse out. And I worked with it for a long time. I would write it, and then I would rewrite it, and I made sure it was all in line with the laws of the universe. I knew it needed to be, like you said, the languaging, everything needed to be vibrationally aligned with what it was I was choosing to create in my life. And it's been just a phenomenal tool for myself, and now that I teach to other people.
Woohoo! Breathe deep. Before we dive into some of the laws in the universe and how that dovetails together for people who are out there who are struggling on their own or may not even realize how much they're struggling, what are some signs you could use an emotional detox?
Oh my goodness. I think that there's three things that I always look for, and one is your breathing. What is your breathing levels? I mean, this is a little bit about what happens before you do the cleanse. It's checking in to see, what is my breathing like? Am I even breathing? Do I hold my breath a lot? Is there a lot of tension? How aware am I of my breath? And then my thoughts, are they on the scale of 1 to 5, 5 being fairly pleasant? Where are they on an average today and on a daily basis on average? And also, what's the frequency of my thinking? And frequency meaning, how distracted am I? How difficult is it for me to be in the moment right now? How quickly do I go back to a loop and start thinking about triggers? Now, and so distractibility is a big thing to answer your question. And also your relationships. And if this is tricky, Michael, question, because what happens is defense mechanisms that we don't even know that we have can keep us in denial about things. And we can go about our lives and not even realize that we're in denial, right? Or not even realize that we're projecting on other people. So there's very obvious signs, such as feeling stressed, feeling irritable, having trouble sleeping, weight gain, skin, all these physical. And then there's less subtle signs, and that is really self-doubt, insecurity, sadness, all of these, or the stories that you run, or feeling like you're stuck all the time, or out of control. So those are some of the signs that you need a detox, as well as those 3 things to kind of check in with, the breathing, the rate, and the quality of your thoughts.
Thank you. And we had on Dr. Bo recently talking about the Bo glow and our skin and what happens with an amygdala response and the vagus nerve. And you mentioned in your book about skin, and in fact how your skin changed in just a few weeks, almost overnight at the start of this process.
I wish I took a picture. I really do. I wish, I was in crisis. I wasn't thinking about things like
Let's do it before and after.
But at the time, I wish I could show people. It literally what it looks like when you are so entrenched, when you hold back, when you're in shock, really. Shock, grief, moving through the stages of grief. And I want to let the audience know what I really learned about Michael was triggers, what it's like to be in a trigger. And I chose to heal and stay with my husband. And I know other people choose different paths in this, and I honor both of them, and I understand why someone would do that. Either way, you have triggers that you have to deal with. I had to live with my triggers, right? I mean, it was right in my face every single day. So there was no getting away. There was no physical. But I learned a ton. I really learned how well this works and how well these tools that we all teach, mindful tools, they work. And yes, the vagus nerve is a big part of that. I believe for me and for the cleanse is a big part of the process.
Thank you. And in a minute we'll get to pressing buttons on the vagus nerve, or for the vagus nerve. So you mentioned laws of the universe. So what does the law of attraction and the cleanse formula have to do with each other?
Well, there is a step in the formula where it's really about focusing on joy and there on a daily basis. And what that is focusing on what you would like to see rather than the pain, right? Because we know, the laws of attraction is, what you focus on, you attract. And we are creators. We don't have control, Michael, over how triggers show up and when they show up. So I like to tell people that, because I think that is a big part of reactivity. People think they can actually control it, right? I could be on vacation in the most beautiful place in the world, and I can get triggered because you are a soul first, and you have things that we carry. We don't always know what it's about. It could be from a whole nother time, right, that we're unaware of. So we don't know when we're going to get triggered. But what we do know is there are tools to help you. And part of the formula, again, within there is a piece where you focus on what it is that you would like. So, I have clients that I have one client that I work with that is separated from a sibling, and the sibling lives in an underprivileged country, and he was adopted and brought to the United States. So he carries a tremendous amount of guilt about that, because one sibling is still living in poverty, and he's living here, and it's very difficult for him. So here's a great example. He's in beautiful, perfect family, perfect home, everything he needs, but yet he carries tremendous guilt and pain and hurt on a daily basis, and it's interfering with his life. So what I suggested to him is, I asked him, how do you see your sibling?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, do you see him suffering? Yes. What does that look like? He was able to tell me. I said, do you see him wearing poor clothes, tattered clothes? Yes. And I said, start seeing him with clean clothes. Do you see him with no food? Yes. Start seeing him with an abundance of food on his plate. Do you see him, sad? Yes. Start seeing him happy. Start seeing him smiling, laughing, reading a book, getting an education. And it really changed his viewpoint on his situation, because you and I both know that we connect across the world. We can impact somebody's life. Oh, yeah. So that's the law of attraction, and that's the way it works. I mean, really, nothing changes outside of us until what inside of us changes. This is about the inner movement inside. How I know I've completed a pattern, Michael, is by what I attract in my life. And that's something the law of attraction doesn't really get into, that I've learned about the law, is a lot of what you attract comes from completing patterns. And that happens in the heart. And that happens from emotions.
Thank you. This sounds brilliant. Would you mind sharing an example of that?
Okay, well, I believe now that people want money, right? The law of attraction. I like to have more money and prosperity. And my philosophy is your money is in your relationships. It's in the healing of your relationships, right? So alongside of finding out that my husband was having an affair, we also went through the toughest financial year over year in our lives. And we've always been on our game. We're both very good at our careers. We're good at saving money. And this whole thing there was a lot of denial around our finances as well. So anyway, we chose, the two of us, to heal. And we made a conscious choice. We are going to heal this relationship, and that's our focus, and that's the way it is. We could have went out and said, okay, you go get another job and do this and do that. And we're in trouble. We said, you know what? Let's just scale back. And we really got creative with scaling back and living very simply and focusing on the healing. And as we healed our relationship, the marriage, as he healed as an individual, as the family healed, it's unbelievable the prosperity that has come back. It's unbelievable. I really see the connection now between he's in a new job, I'm in a new job. So that is one personal example. I really, really see. You think about it, Michael, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're not feeling loved or worthy or accepted or respected or connected in your relationships, really, you're never, ever really going to feel at ease. You're never going to feel at ease. You're never going to be able to just be present to all that once you have that foundation, you can have anything you want. Anything you want.
Well, that there's several pieces that come up. First off, money is energy. And so if you're not feeling well about your relationships, your energy is inherently low. Therefore, you're cutting off the flow. Additionally, if you're stuffing down the emotions, if you have emotions to detox and you're not doing it, money is current to flow. You're cutting off the flow there as well. Once you get those emotions flowing and you start to heal yourself and heal your relationships, then the abundance can start flowing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
And so, woohoo! so that's why in the formula, there's a step called Nourish, and that means you nourish your relationships every day, every single day.
what does, and I want to jump into the formula in just a second, but since you've already hit Nourish, what does that mean to nourish our relationships every single day?
The relationships include the relationships with yourself, with others, with your environment. So what that includes is how I have it in the formula is how you appreciate, is forming an appreciation. I run through the formula every morning as my morning meditation. And when I get to the Nourish, which is the N in cleanse, it's under the acronym, I focus on maybe something that's driving me nuts, like maybe one of my teenage daughters is, maybe something. And I will say to myself, what I really appreciate about this person today is, and I will put it out to the universe and I will let myself feel that. What that also does when we nourish our relationships is we're not just sending them healing energy, we're healing ourselves, we're changing our brains. Because now when I see that person walk in the room, I'm not always being reminded, and that's really what triggers are. You're being reminded of unhealed wounds of the past, and you're seeing them, you see them differently. So the appreciations work on so many different levels. And then also the nourishing is making sure we take time to connect with, it doesn't have to be long. I know that we're all very busy people, but eye contact, hugs are huge. Hugging, I hug. I've always been a hugger, Michael, but I'm really a hugger now, especially with my children. I just grab them and hug them. My girls are getting older. Just give me a hug. So important.
I love it. I'm a hugger myself. In fact, with the people that we work with, they have to pass the huggability factor. If you can't hug them, if we can't hug you, we're not working with you.
Yes.
You did something that Jessica and I have done that was, wow, it's such a powerful tool. And initially, I've got to imagine if you did this early on, now N is later, and we're going to go through CLEANSE in just a minute. But since we're in the N, you did a Drishti, or a focused gaze. You
mean just now?
No, with your partner.
Oh,
that
yes.
must have been early on. That must have been.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was intense. It brought, it really brings the humanness to everything. I think when part of the healing was the Drishti Gaze, and continues, we will now and then go back to that, and you can really feel compassion for someone. You can see it all. We do too much talking, Michael. I mean, we really do. We talk too much. And that is also a sign of reactivity. When people talk. I need to talk about this. I need to talk about that. And you really don't. You really don't. It's amazing what can happen when you are present to each other. And that was a very sacred process for us. Very challenging, but you really see the humanness in someone.
And for somebody who hasn't done that before, I'm guessing your style, I don't know if there are different styles, but you sit in front of somebody and you simply look into their eyes and you be with them and you be with that gaze.
Yes, and you breathe together. Yes. You take an inhale together at the same time. You take an exhale together. You begin, you just breathe. That's it. And you let it all come up. And so there were countless amounts of hours we would just stare at each other and breathe and cry. Just cry and just let the grief, the tears fall and the pain.
Wow.
And yeah.
So then let's back up to the beginning of this formula now. We'll run through this here. Can you take us to, and do we need to start at step 1, or do we have to talk a little bit real briefly about prep work?
The prep work that is, there is prep work, and that is how I started my emotional detox. Was this was all sort of just came to me from insight, things I had heard from for years, but it was like I had, after I found out about the affair, I thought I was going back to work, and then I had another. I'm a professor at a college, and the enrollment happened to be low, so they didn't need an extra adjunct professor that semester, which was like another reason, the finances. So not only was I didn't have the distractions. You know how many people go through a hard time? They're like, well, I'll just go to work because at least at work I can be at work, right? Yep. And so that was taken away, and I was like, oh crap, like here I am, and
thank you, universe.
Thank you, universe. Unexpected, but so the first thing I heard when I knew I was going to have that time, I heard give up dairy. Mm-hmm. Literally, it was like stop eating dairy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to stop eating dairy. And then I read the research on the dairy, and I was like, okay, now I get it. It really is counter to processing our emotions. It's our gut. The gut-brain connection is so important. So yeah, there is that. For me, was part of the prep work. I gave up dairy. I really pumped in the probiotics. Mm-hmm. Right. I became like really drinking them constantly. And they can be expensive, but you can make your own version. You can do that disgusting apple cider vinegar thing. I know some people like that, but that's a cheaper way to do that. But you really want to sort of, it's like baking a cake. You want to get your body prepared for a cleanse. So I did that. I also just made sure I went to bed early, things like that, drank more water. I really treated it like I am on an emotional detox, and that's what I'm doing. That's my job, right? I'm getting up today, and I'm focusing on the detox. And it's not that I didn't work at all. I did have other things I was doing, but it really helped me to have that mindset rather than, oh, well, look, what am I going to do today? How, really putting yourself on a detox, just saying, no, this is what you're going to do. Right. And I had no idea how long it would take. That was the other thing. And I think that there is no, it's really individual. But then after that, then the steps began, the mindful process. But I started with just getting my body ready. So those couple of things were helpful for my experience. Did you want me to talk about the cleanse? Or?
Yes, let's dive right into the cleanse. Okay. And I just want to add, I love how you went to heal the gut as the strengthening the whole system, strengthening our microbiome. So now let's go into the cleanse.
Okay. So the cleanse begins with, again, noticing. The first thing you notice and you ask yourself is, how are my levels of reactivity? Mm-hmm. If you're in high levels of reactivity, you're going to have a really hard time being in your body, like I said, right? High levels usually have a lot of irrational thinking, like always, if you hear yourself like, they're always late, or I'm always late, then that's a signal that you're in high levels of reactivity. Or if you're imagining the worst case scenario, like my daughter was last night, imagining the teacher's going to be mad at me and I'm going to get in trouble and if I don't get my homework done. She was in high levels of reactivity. There's so many benefits to seeing it that way, because I can look at her and say, oh, she's in high levels, and now I'm not taking it personally. Yeah. Right? So then there's medium levels, which is, okay, I'm aware I'm reacting, but I'm not doing anything about it, right? I'm just aware. And then low levels of reactivity are, I'm aware, and I'm going to go to my cleanse. I'm going to go to my tools. Okay. So that's where it begins. Every morning I ask myself, because very often we wake up in reactivity. You check in and you see, where's my breathing? If it's in my chest, I woke up with some reactivity, maybe a dream or something, whatever. Doesn't matter. The next step is you tone your vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs out the back of your neck, out of the brainstem, and it's called the wandering nerve because it just goes all over the place. It intersects so many different organs, and it ends up in the colon. And we need to have a healthy colon, just like for food. We need it for emotions. Otherwise, you get all bound up. So I knew that needed to be the first thing, even before breathing. I always taught breathing first. After going through trauma, I teach this first now because most people in trauma aren't going to breathe. So how I do it, there's like 50 ways you can tone it. It's called toning the nerve. Yep. And basically what that means is just making the communication clear, right? It's like toning an instrument. And I do it by taking 2 fingers. You take 1 inch above your navel, and there's the 3 presses. And then the 3 fingers go on the back of the brain. What that does is it brings that energy to between the brain and the gut. So I have the steps written out in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. So tone the vagus nerve. And then the next step is L, which is called looking inward. And it sounds like this: how I feel in my body right now is. But here's the booby trap you mentioned. I don't answer the question. That you could spend a whole day on that one step, and I do in some retreats. How I feel in my body, and you just breathe and observe with non-judgment. You don't go into the story because that's just going to take you down, and it's called following your triggers. Now, if I'm in high levels, I go right to step 3.
Yep.
Right. And step 3 is mantra, right? I wrote a book on mantras. I was on your show. And mantras had to be a part of it.
People loved that episode.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And I knew mantras had to be, that's why it's all premonition. I knew mantras had to be in the formula. The mantra hum is different than the om. The om, we have more of an open mouth. The hum, we have a closed mouth, and it really vibrates your whole entire body. And so what you're doing is you're acknowledging how I feel in my body right now. And when we're in a trigger, there's low energy, and that hum is going to give you a lot of energy, right? It's actually the mantra for enlightenment. I love the hum mantra. You hum, and then here's the very important part. When you come out of that hum, you're going to feel sensation all over your body, and you want to focus on joy, and that's the A, and it's called activation.
And if I pause you for a second, 528 hertz and Gregorian chants.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you focus on the A, and so what I always say is for people is focus on nature. If you want to get right to joy, go to nature, see an image of nature, especially if you're being triggered, and that helps that activation, helps hold that state. And what you're doing is you're training. So if you create all this energy and then you focus on the problem, guess what you're fueling? Right? So the last thing I want to do with that hum is revert back to my triggers. So there's the booby trap. You got to really focus right on joy, activation. Then once you hold that in your mind, that's your imagination, right? I see joy in image. then you're in the N, which is the appreciation. That's the nourishing relationships. What I appreciate about the situation. There's always something to appreciate. There's always something to be grateful for. And you can even add on to that. And so, for example, my husband and I just did this morning, and he sent me he told me he appreciated that I always have dinner ready, and he said it's not even about the food; it's about the fact that you're always there for the family. You know, it doesn't matter what we eat. What matters is that you provide this time for our family. And so he gave that to me, and he told me how that made him feel. See how healing that is? I know. Isn't that beautiful? So, yeah. So that's where the appreciations eventually go when you have this practice. All of a sudden, you have it, you start to do it, you start to share it. And then the S is surrender.
I'll pause you for 1 sec. Can you tell us about fostering faith or becoming a holy roller?
Yeah. I'm a little bit of a holy roly now, Michael, I must admit.
Woohoo!
I've always been a holy roly. Who am I kidding? I've always been drawn to that. I mean, I think I've learned a lot about God. I've learned a lot about how we all are. I mean, we hold this God consciousness. We really are. And I think about Jesus a lot on my journey. And I think about when he went to heal people, he didn't see them the way we see, you know. People will say sometimes, oh, I'll pray for you, you know. And I think to myself, please don't pray for me if you're going to see me suffering, right? Because see me thriving, see me happy, see me connected, see me, you know, that's how Jesus did it, right? So yeah, I'm definitely, both my husband and I, very, very strong. We don't judge, and everyone tries not to judge, right, Michael? But I will say, healing through this, we have such a humility now that when we hear something about someone else, we're very much compassionate. We feel it. We really don't judge, like we did before.
Makes sense, and that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge.
What does it mean to pray in faith, not in fear?
The example I just gave, you know, to pray as if prayer is really thankfulness. It's really being thankful. It's not about what I want. It's about being grateful. You know, I mean, I thank God for my husband every day. Say thank you so much for this connection in my life. You know, and so I pray differently. I do. It's a lot of gratitude, a lot of a relationship with God, and knowing that we really are this God consciousness. We have the same ability. I mean, we're made of that. So, yeah.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
All right, now let's go to step 6, surrender.
Yeah, so surrender is different than letting go. I find the idea of letting go is a reaction, because it keeps you focused on the problem. So surrender is really, how I define it, is a state of allowing. So I choose to surrender, meaning I choose to allow healing to occur, and I choose to allow the wisdom to come in. That's what surrender is. And support.
And you said surrender to Mother Earth, surrender in our breath.
Yeah. I love the surrender to Mother Earth, because I am sensitive to the fact that not everybody believes what I believe. So I feel like Mother Earth is something where we can all agree is a tremendous healer on the planet. So when I teach it often, I will say surrender to Mother Earth to be healing, for healing.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
What do you mean love wins?
Well, what I mean is that after going through this experience, I believe that love is the only emotion. I don't believe that, I know that we've been taught that we have this rainbow of emotions. But I really believe there is only one emotion. I believe the rest is a form of reactivity, all of it, that we've just learned to label it so we can make sense of it. But that is just really keeping it in the brain. So love wins, meaning love really does heal when you let, love is, it really does. And everything else is a reaction. Guilt is a reaction. Shame is a reaction. Rejection is a reaction. I don't get into those emotions anymore. I don't label them anymore. The only emotion is love. That's all there is.
Woohoo! So let's transition from love. This is a good transition from love to ease.
Yeah. Okay. So love to ease. So that's the final steps. That's the E in the formula. E is when you land. So once you go through the steps, ease is about landing in the what is, right? Coming from the what if, right? We had the what if or the what was into the what is right here and right now. And I did that step last night with my 10-year-old. She was freaking out. And I said, honey, you're in the what if. Be in the what is right now. Right now, you're making a sandwich. Right now, you're making a peanut butter and jelly. Just bring it back. Come back to what is right now. And so that's what ease is. Always coming back to here and now. That's all that really exists.
And the importance of blessing a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Blessing your food. Yeah, I mean, that's a tip. That's a tool I even mentioned in Mantras Made Easy, that, when we bless and we send things, we can change, we can transform our food just with the blessing. We can make it more nutritious for us. It's all about our intention, our thoughts. It's all energy. It's all connected. There's no separation.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
What is it? Bring it around full circle. You talked about this briefly at the beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
Doo-doo-doo,
Here
doo-doo-doo.
we go. Okay.
Going back to a daily reflection. What does that look like? Because at the end of the book, you're talking about how a detox is enhanced. How does a daily reflection, what's that look like? How does it help?
A daily reflection is also a part of the formula. But what I focus on is how I feel, but I don't do it until after the cleanse. So I always cleanse first.
Okay.
Otherwise, I could be focusing on a reaction. Once I go through the steps of a cleanse, or I encourage my clients to, then you can begin to reflect. And that's when it's a great time to journal. That's when it's a great time to do gratitude journals or any kind of writing. And that's a way that you can enhance your detox, where you keep that energy running. But I always say, don't do it until you've cleansed first. And I find that with a lot of people, they have these rituals and practices, but they're still edging on wanting to control or fix or make something better, right? That fear, that reactivity. So cleanse first, and then do a daily reflection. My husband and I have a one process that we have a little book of love, and sometimes we'll read from the book. And we'll just read it out loud. And that's been a really nice way to enhance the detox process as well. Just like a short passage that either he or I will read out loud. And that will be the way we connect the whole day. We'll just, can I just read this to you? You will sit and we'll breathe. Yeah.
I love it. It's a bonding
Yeah.
experience.
Exactly.
So on that note, after your detox is done, what in the world does a new pillow have to do with anything?
Well, if you think about it, Michael, I mean, you sleep on the same pillow, right? How many years? Some people carry around their pillows forever. And when I was doing the research, one of the suggestions for really helping you to detox your emotions to the heaviness was to get a new pillow, right? Get it. Sometimes it's like get a new mattress, because we dump, we release everything into especially at night. So that can be another way that you can support your detox.
Woohoo! So what one homework assignment, if I take off my coaching hat, Sherry, and I put it on you today, what one homework assignment would you give people today to work on their emotions?
What homework assignment? I would have them notice when they are trying to make what's uncomfortable comfortable. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because that's usually tied into reactivity. So reactivity is when you try to make the uncomfortable comfortable. Like my mom with a cookie, remember?
Yes.
It was uncomfortable to see me after all that time. So it was like, and think of how many people do that. They're uncomfortable, so they'll eat or they'll shop or they'll go on their computer, whatever it is. Pay attention to that, because those are the little signs that you're already in levels of reactivity and you're not feeling your emotions. So take a moment and cleanse whatever's coming up, and just say, oh, I'm being triggered. I can either continue to go that path or I can heal whatever's coming up, because it's always connected to something in you that was never digested or was over processed in the body. So I would suggest that you pay attention to when you're attempting to make yourself comfortable in the uncomfortable and how you're doing that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. On that note, on paying attention, Jessica always wants me to ask a question of advice for parents for their kids, and kids are paying attention to us. So
yes.
what advice would you give to parents to help kids with their emotions?
What I would do is really teach them the value of their emotions. Quit trying to label them so much and focus on more movement. So an emotional detox is about giving your body movement, the energy movement. That's why going outside is great for kids, because they get movement. Breathing gives us inner movement. When there's inner movement, then there's healing. So focus less on the labeling. Oh, you must be angry. Why are you so angry? Oh, you sound frustrated. Yeah, that might be true. However, it's an attempt to make meaning, which is all brain. And we want them to be in their body. You'd be better off being present. You're welcome.
Woohoo! On that note,
you.
What personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
What gives me the greatest happiness? Helping other people, and I being in a sacred relationship with myself and others, seeing the good in others, that really brings me joy. Serving.
Excellent. And then on that note, where can people go to find out more and to find your beautiful book, Emotional Detox?
Can you turn the back? Can I see the back?
You can absolutely see the back.
Oh my gosh. You have it before I have it, Michael.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. And we'll throw up a PDF, but maybe I'll just keep this up for the specialness of it.
You're cute. I had yeah, you got one before I got one.
And I've got the sacred waterfall going through it from behind with the green screen.
That's right. You get the extra. So they can go anywhere, Michael. They can go anywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your favorite bookshop, wherever you like. And I would love it if they would leave an honest review. Mm-hmm. That would be much appreciated for you folks who do read it. Kindly leave an honest review of it.
And that I'll make a special note. That's something that Dr. Dean Radin talked about on the show a few weeks ago, which is reviews matter tremendously.
Yeah,
the quantity of reviews, honest reviews matter. So if you take a look at the book, write a review. Can't recommend that enough.
Aw,
So
thank you. Thank you.
Website. Do you have a website, Sherry, you want to share with people?
I do. It's Sheriannaboyle.com. Sheriannaboyle.com.
Fantastic. And if you didn't catch Sheriannaboyle.com, come on over to inspirenationshow.com and we'll get you over to Sheriannaboyle.com. So before we do a brief meditation at the end, are there any last words of wisdom you want to share with people, Sherry?
No, I think that's good, Michael.
Very, very good. All right. So if we're driving down the road, we probably want to wait to do this till later, I imagine.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we're going to close your eyes. You're going to have your feet apart, seated in a chair or lying down, and everybody just kind of settle into your body now. I am going to take you through a process where you imagine yourself going through the cleanse, and that is just as effective as doing it. So if you can see yourself, so bring in your mind's eye now an image of yourself and see yourself pressing. So you're not actually doing this. You're visualizing yourself pressing about an inch above your navel and to the right about an inch, just in the vicinity. You're going to press your belly to the right and to the middle and to the left. So you're just going to give it a couple pushes on that vagus nerve. So watch yourself do that for a moment. And then once you do that, I want you to visualize yourself putting your arms on your lap and noticing how your body wants to start rolling its shoulders. And you can roll your shoulders if you want, if you feel that. And observing how your breathing starts to kick in and how your inhale starts to increase in volume. And observe how your exhale starts to come into the body, bringing that exhale all the way down into the soles of your feet and allowing your inhale to spread all the way up to the crown of your head. And we're going to begin with that stem sentence of how I feel in my body right now is, and then we're going to pause and observe. And you're observing the breathing without any judgment. Just noticing. Good. And now I want you to imagine yourself in a beautiful place like the beach or the mountains or a meadow, wherever. Maybe it's your backyard or near a stream. But see yourself outside. And sound travels through water and air. It's made of molecules. It's vibration. So you're going to visualize yourself outside. And I want you to watch yourself take a nice long hum. You're going to observe yourself inhaling, and you're going to observe yourself chanting the sound hum, and you're going to watch how your body responds to that. Even though you're not actually doing it, you're going to imagine that you're going through the motions of chanting hum now. And as you exhale, you're pulling the belly in for 4, you're humming for 3, and see your mouth closing 2 and 1. And you're out in nature, so that hum is vibrating all around you. Nature magnifies the vibration of your hum. And with that high vibration, you begin to focus on joy. And you see snapshots of joy enter your mind. It could be nature, it could be hugging your dog. It could be connecting with your loved one that you feel disconnected from. It could be revisiting someone that you haven't visited a long time. Just bring joy into your life, the joy activation. And then you're going to move into nourishment. And you're going to focus on what you appreciate. And just imagine one thing that you appreciate. One simple thing. It could be a glass of water. It could be your home. It could be a flower outside your window. Just one thing that you appreciate, and imagine that in your mind now. And then we're moving into surrender. And that is a state of allowing. And we exhale, we ground our bodies, and we inhale, we allow the wisdom to come in. All the learnings to come in. And then finally, we go move into ease. And in the ease, we go into the what is. And in that what is space is the I am. In the what is space is the we are. I am energy. I am a creator. I am love. We are energy. We are creators. And we are love. And take a nice deep inhale. And then exhale. Slowly come back. Open your eyes.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Thank you so much, Sherianna. This has been absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure.
It so goes both ways. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get emotional detox. I'll hold it up one more time so you can see it.
Woohoo!
And begin energizing your joy today and shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Sherry.
Oh, you're awesome.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!